Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story, and I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
I am that dude, Bodkins.
Yeah, DP lost it, Steve. Yeah.
Right, where he's wondering, he's like, I
Had it up, Patty.
He won style, like no weight classes.
Yeah, basically, like I said, there's been a couple guys that are like,
It's ridiculous. No way. There's nobody else out there. He's your guy.
That's just not my mentality, bro.
Yeah. Leave the ladder down. That's my always like, hey, somebody helped you out. Why not help somebody else out? Return.
Give a big round of applause for the one and only Bodkins Show.
Or bringing Craig Counsell down the interstate in a move unexpected. I had people.
I'm going to repeat that again, folks. I didn't stutter. Welcome to the Bodkins Show.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another great episode of the Bodkins Show. I am, of course, your boy Bodkins. Man, hopefully everybody had a great weekend. It was a busy weekend for myself, as always. But, the Cubs, nice sweep, baby. 3 in a row. We've won 15 out of our last, 18 games. Sweeping the Diamondbacks. Absolutely loved it. Last night was able to catch the Celtics 76ers game. I mean, what's with these teams almost dropping 3 games to 1 here, up 3 games to 1. Celtics lose, 76ers win, survive, advance. They'll take on the Knicks. I think the East is wide open. Now I thought the Celtics were the best team in the East, and now it's absolutely wide open. After they lose, there's a lot of questions. Considering what Joe Mazzulla was doing. I mean, I think he had 3 starters to score 0 points in the fourth quarter, so that's tough. Obviously, no Jason Tatum and things like that, but 70's good for the 76ers. 76ers Knicks will be a fun series. We had Pistons advance earlier today as well. They handled their business against the Magic in 7 games. I mean, what was it, Thursday or Friday night? I don't remember. They were up 26, and then they missed 26 straight shots or whatever it was. And then Pistons survive game 6 and game 7 and advance as well. Cavs, the other game 7 tonight, Cavs and Raptors were playing. So, we have, enough about that, but we got a great special guest tonight. He actually has a new book coming out this fall. It's called Memoirs of the Nursing Home. The Tales of Keith Engle. I'm just kidding. Give it up for the legendary man, the man who stayed up late for me tonight. It's usually way past his bedtime. He said he'll take an afternoon nap to join me this evening. Man, you can catch talking all things sports on TGI Sports Talk. The one, the only, the legendary Keith Engle, baby.
I don't deserve such high praise. I mean, I'm a legend in the nursing home only, and they don't remember the next day even what I did. So that's why I'm a legend.
Keith, I appreciate you joining me this evening, staying up past your bedtime. It's a pleasure.
Took a 4-hour nap just to be able to keep up with you. So it's exciting to be here, Nick. I love your stuff, and it's fun to be on the show with you tonight.
Keith, honestly, that means a lot because you're somebody that I watch on the Sunday, your Sunday self-stream of consciousness show.
Stream of consciousness, yeah, that's literally that.
And I absolutely love it because you do it by yourself and you're just able to go. And you're able to use the comments and have conversations with people who aren't there. That's something I've tried to do at times. I struggle, I think, because of my energy, I like to bounce off of people, and being in a room by myself, well, I could just, nobody wants to see that. So I admire your work. I truly do. And you're one of the best.
Well, thank you for that. And I couldn't do it without the followers and the people that are commenting, because especially on Sundays, I just riff off of them. I mean, it's, I prepare stuff I never even get to, just because you never know where we're going to go. Sometimes it's bad, 20 miles of road equals, 20 miles of road equals 40 miles of ditch. So that's the problem. I usually find it somewhere along the ride. So,
Keith, I got to ask you. I know you're from the Boston area, so like no.
No, I'm actually from upstate New York.
So how did you become a Pats fan then, and not like a Bills or anybody else's fan?
Well, when I was young, which was long ago,
when they first had leather on the helmets,
right? Basically, but everybody. So when I'm like 9 years old, the Mets had just won a World Series, the Jets had just won the Super Bowl, and so everybody was either a Jet fan or Met fan or a Giant fan because their dads were, and I was a bit of a nonconformist even then. And I had a friend of mine who was a Patriot fan. We went to a game in Foxborough when I was 11, 1971, and fell in love with the Patriots. Had season tickets in the 80s, a couple of good years in there, a couple of really bad ones. But it's odd. I became a Yankee fan and a Patriot fan, which I always mess with people. I'll wear both colors out, I'll wear a Yankee hat and a Patriot top or vice versa and drive people nuts because they'll say the same thing as you. How can you be both? Well, they both stunk when I started watching them. So
yeah. Well, I'm a Cubs fan and a Packers fan, so I kind of understand that. So like especially on the Twitter world, like all your Cubs fans, you're all friends during baseball season. Then they all start bashing the Packers in the football season. I'm like, oh man, and then it's vice versa. My Packer friends are bashing the Cubs because they're all Brewer fans. That
is a similar dilemma, but you're also like, aren't you in Missouri or something?
Yeah, I don't really have allegiance to any of them because I'm in Missouri. So I've never lived in either one of those two places.
Now, is it Missouri or Missouri? Because the late great Mark Littell, who gave up the famous home run to Chris Chambliss in the 1976 World Series, I had him on my show one time, and he insisted me it was Missouri if you knew what you were talking about. And everybody says Missouri.
Yeah, I call it everybody. I've never heard of anybody here in the state, from the state, actually call it Missouri.
Mark was an interesting character, and sadly he's not with us anymore, but he was quite a character, so he could have been just pulling my leg for all I know.
So, I never heard it. Scott says the Rod Russ years were the best, Keith.
I sat through the one Rod Russ year. Yes, we won one game. We were 1-15 that year, and it was the worst year we had sitting in Foxborough for, we played 10 games because we had preseason games as well.
What was your thoughts on this year? Keith, for the Patriots? To me, I always say the best years as a fan are the years unexpected, right? Like that's, to me, like those are my favorite years as a fan. Like everybody, as a Cubs fan, everybody talks about 2016. I'm like, 2015 was way better. It was funner for me because we weren't supposed to be there. There was no expectations. And I felt like that with the Patriots. Like there wasn't really any expectations, like as far as like maybe we'll be a couple games above 500, but I don't think anybody was thinking Super Bowl.
No, my hope before the season was to shoot for 9 wins and be in the hunt for a wild card, and I'd have been very happy with that. And if they'd gone 8-9, I'd have been happy, I guess, right? So as the season went on, and things kept breaking their way because teams that might look like they were going to be much better than they were not, which I've heard with unending comments about the record of the teams that we played against, but you can only play the teams they put in front of you. So
right.
But it was very unexpected to go 14-3 and certainly make it to a Super Bowl. And again, breaks kept happening. But I'm a big fan of the old maxim that luck is the residue of good design. So you make your own luck, and you got to have some good luck to kind of go all the way. And they didn't make it all the way, but they made it a lot further than most of us thought. And to your point, by the way, about which seasons are the best, the first Super Bowl for me is always going to be the best because there was no expectations for that team. We started out 1-2.
1-3, right? I think
1-3. Sorry, 1-3. Then Mo Lewis, our MVP that year, almost killed Bledsoe, and the rest is history. But that year was the most exciting for me and the most exciting Super Bowl. The 17-1 season was exciting, but with a bad ending. But nothing beats that first one.
Yeah. I just think it's the surprise, like right,
like it's like.
The out of nowhere, the no expectations. Like as a Packers fan, the last few years, my favorite years, the year Jordan Love took us to the playoffs and we beat the Cowboys. It's because like who would have thought of this? I didn't think like this is possible. So those are always like the years that are the best years to me. In thinking about that first Super Bowl, it's like, who's this Tom Brady guy, right? Like, now we just lost our number 1 overall draft pick, a guy who led us to a Super Bowl just a few years prior in Drew Bledsoe, and now he's out, and then here comes, this unknown guy named Tom Brady. And like you said, the rest is history.
It's funny. The team knew who he was. In reading since, especially a couple books that have come out in the last couple of years, he was the best quarterback in camp that year, but they couldn't play him because they just signed Drew Bledsoe to the most expensive contract in the history of the NFL. What were they going to do? They were kind of stuck, and fate took care of it for them. I joke about Mo Lewis being the MVP of that team, but to me, Drew Bledsoe was the MVP of that team because he wasn't happy. He was really mad when he came back, and I mean, you could see it, but he didn't make waves, within the team. He didn't go out and have a bunch of interviews where he was angry, and he helped Tom, become a much better quarterback. I think Drew was very fortunate.
If you remember, he played in the AFC Championship game. Tom got hurt against the Steelers, right? Yeah. Like he came in that game.
Yeah. So
you're right. Like but that shows you like the character of the person, right? Like and things like that. I don't know, I don't know if that very many other guys are going to be able to handle that. Like, I love Aaron Rodgers to death. I don't think if that ever happened to him, he's handling it the same way.
And he was pissed. Don't be mistaken. People think he might have accepted it. He thinks to this day he should have got his job back. Even regardless of what happened historically. And I love Drew, but obviously once that happened, we all saw what took off. And Tom Brady, wasn't really Tom Brady at that point. He was a good quarterback and managing games basically that first year, and even the second
really
year.
His first even those like all 3 of those first kind of early Super Bowls he was
the first couple for sure. Yeah, and then because his second season they didn't make the playoffs. They I think they went 10-6, maybe 9-7, but they didn't make the playoffs, and he still wasn't Tom Brady. And even in that second Super Bowl win this wasn't when he became really. It was almost like the second part of the dynasty, right? We had the first part, then we had a little break, and then he just went crazy, after his starting really just before that season they lost to the Giants the first time.
Yeah, you're right. Like he wasn't like this MVP, guy that's just kind of like, obviously the year with Randy Moss in this 17-1 season, like that was set aside that, but he wasn't like this guy that everybody was like, oh, this is a top 5 quarterback in the league. It was really the back half of his career, those last 8 or so years.
Like the first year of that Super Bowl, he was the MVP, threw for like 112 yards in that game. It was 121 yards, but he led them on the most important drive they had. He was not the great player that he became, but he did win a Super Bowl with, and I mean, no disrespect to these guys, because Troy Brown was a great Patriot. Yeah. He's not a great player. David Patton, David Gibbons, these were the wide receivers that he was throwing to against that Ram team. And, you got to be pretty good to find a way to win that game. And the defense was pretty good.
Right. Yeah. Defensively, they were really good. You had Bill Belichick too at that, the whole time. But you're right. Like, even really, it wasn't until the Moss Welker, and then they had Edelman and then Gronk. Like, they didn't have the offensive weapons, and even the running backs was just kind of a mixed bag. I mean, they did have Corey Dillon, I think, for 2 of those Super Bowls.
They did have Corey Dillon for a couple of years. Antoine Smith was a running back that first year.
Yeah.
And Dan Branch came along before the guys you mentioned. He was a very good receiver, but again, never quite, not in the Randy Moss category.
Yeah, not a Hall of Famer like Moss or Gronk in those guys. Yeah.
No. I mean, he did it, and with lacking some weapons early on, if you will. Again, it was a team effort.
This year, what was, losing the Super Bowl, but like what, do you feel like, I feel like going into the year, I thought Drake May was going to be a dude. And I feel like even after the Super Bowl, like they got the heir apparent now.
I agree. Look, he didn't have a great run in the playoffs, but he found ways to win games until that last one. And, I'm not disappointed. I wasn't disappointed in losing because, again, we didn't expect to be there. I was disappointed in the way they lost because it just felt like they didn't put the offense in the best position to succeed, which is something the Patriots and Josh McDaniel has been known for through their careers. And that day, again, Will Campbell had a tough day. And I mean, we could have played with one less guy on the line and it would have made no difference. You could have played with 4 guys there instead of 5. It would have made no difference.
Yeah.
But they didn't, no adjustments. It didn't feel like a good Patriot team effort because of the lack of adjustments. And the players, I'm not going to fault. They didn't quit. I mean, they were getting their butts handed to them, but they didn't quit.
Their dicks kicked in the dirt, Keith. You can say whatever. It's the Bodkins show, Keith. You can say whatever you want.
I forgot where it was. So they got their asses dragged up and down the field. So.
Freedom of speech goes a long way here. We're not limited. So yeah, I'm kind of in agreement, and I think what do you make the off seasons so far? Like, obviously I think going right now, I know it's super early. Here we are, only it's like May 2nd or whatever, so we still got a long way to go. But like, I feel like it's going to be the race between them and the Bills, and I don't know if the Bills really did a whole lot. They added DJ Moore and some nice pieces, but the Patriots, I mean, going out and they got Romeo Doubs and a few others.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about Dobbs a little bit, but I like what they did. It wasn't super sexy, and I've been told I shouldn't use the word sexy when referring to the Patriots at this point in time, but I keep doing it. The draft wasn't super sexy. Free agency wasn't super sexy, but they addressed things that they needed to address, I think. This team, I think, very likely will be better this year, and maybe the record doesn't reflect it. They're going to play a tougher schedule. They've got the NFC North, which is constantly pointed out to me by one of my Minnesota Viking friends. And look, it's going to be tougher, but they might win 10 or 11 games and be a better team than they were last year. Recent events might be a distraction for a little bit.
I was going to ask. The Mike Vrabel situation, we'll call it. Is that how's that handling up on the East Coast? I talked to Scott a lot on Thursdays about it. But I don't think Vrabel's in line to lose his job at all.
No way. Look at this is it's not a good situation for him. I've lost a little respect for the Mike Vrabel, the person.
Yeah,
I would have more respect for him if he didn't lie in the beginning. Just come out and say what you did, because the way he handled it, it looked like he only is, and he still hasn't really said. He's apologized without apologizing, but it sounds like he's apologizing for getting caught more than what he did wrong. Because you got to come clean in the beginning. It's always a cover up. It's never a crime. It's always a cover up. That's worse.
Yeah.
But how this will play, I mean, this is between him and his family. I think that's the way it's going to play out. And, like anything else, Nick, if they win, this will go away.
Oh, yeah. Winning I always say winning cures all wounds.
Yeah. If they lose, this will linger.
Yeah.
If they get off to a bad start.
If they start off 0-3 or 1-4 or something crazy like that, they're going to start be like, all the offseason distractions, this
Guaranteed.
and that.
If there's some player issues in camp or something, it's going to be because, he's not focused, but if everything goes smoothly, this will disappear. And hopefully, if his family's, meant to stay together, they will. And, he's learned from his mistake. It's not good, but it's not like, look at there's guys in the NFL in the Hall of Fame who killed a couple people for
right. And it's not, let's be honest.
I won't mention anybody's name, but
he's not the first coach or player to cheat on his wife either.
No, he's not. And again, I'm not condoning it, but
yeah.
I
don't think this was the first time he's done it either. Obviously, there's been links to them and when he was in Tennessee and then some. So
yeah, it sounds like something that I also don't know his family situation. How do I know his wife's not okay with it? It's anything's possible today.
Anything. Hey, today it's 2026, Keith. You're right. Who knows? She could be okay.
My wife wouldn't be. I mean, you see certain parts of me hanging from the flagpole out front. I'll tell you right now.
We know what
I'm
happened.
talking about my feet either.
Yeah. You mentioned Romeo Dobbs earlier.
I want to know what I'm getting. I wasn't crazy about the signing, and I've talked to a couple of my friends who are Patriot fans and a couple of Packer fans, and they tell me that I'll like this kid. I look at the numbers, and numbers don't always tell you the true story. So I want to hear from a Packer fan. Am I going to like what I'm getting?
I think you are. He's as sure-handed as it gets. Now, do I think he's never going to be like the breakaway guy, where he's going to get, have like, a bunch of yak yards, and you're not going to see him, breaking away he doesn't have breakaway speed, but he has sure hands. Like you throw it to him, he's probably going to catch it. He's going to make the tough third down when you need to get one on third down type.
Yeah.
He's going to be able to get that to you if you believe in that you can throw the right ball. And I think, it's rumored that you guys are going to get AJ Brown. So he's the perfect number 2, really. Like if you're going to go in and he's your legit number 1 wide receiver, I don't think that's your best play, but he's a great number 2. And if you get AJ Brown, that's a great pairing. Yeah,
I think it looks like the AJ Brown thing's going to happen, but who knows? I mean, they're definitely moving him. Obviously, they wouldn't have made the move they made to get Lemon move up in the draft.
Yeah.
So they're definitely
they made
moving.
the first rookie signing.
Yeah, I think this is because the Dobbs is a nice pickup, but I mean we've got a whole room full of wide receivers to do exactly what he does.
Yeah.
We don't have anybody right now to get down the field, and that was part of the problem last year. One of the big problems for Drake May is they couldn't really stretch the field.
And I don't think he's that guy that can do that for you. Yeah. We had a Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, and those guys that could stretch the field. Dobbs isn't that guy, but he is the guy that on third down you're going to want to throw it to.
Can't have too many weapons. They really got some guys. We talked about some of the surprises last year. There were some guys that really surprised. Booty stepped up and really matured as a receiver. Hollins, every catch Mac Hollins seemed to make was a big catch.
Right.
And Pop Douglas had a better year than you think. He didn't catch a lot of balls, but it seems like every ball he caught was a first down or more. So I like the receiving core, and if they add Brown to it, obviously, if he's on his best behavior, we don't want a prima donna come in here and wrecking our quarterback situation.
I think he'll be good for at least. They're always good for the first year.
Always good first year. I was going to say the same thing. Stephon Diggs was great. See you later, Stephon. We got a good year out of you.
Yeah.
Time to go away. But
Alan, I would agree on the Jordy Nelson thing, but he's not quite as good as a route runner as Nelson was. So
Nelson was really good for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The year, and that's just like Randy Moss. Like when you guys had him, Keith, like he had 2 really good years, and then the third year it started getting in some, some stuff.
And he admitted it too that he just kind of overstepped his his bounds, and they moved him. That was the thing then. As soon as guys were a problem, they were gone.
Yeah.
And that's what really kept that motor going in that 20 years was the fact that they didn't hold on to guys too long. They always got rid of a guy 1 year too early rather than 1 year too late. And Belichick didn't have that emotional ties to guys that a lot of coaches seem to have sometimes. And they get guys at the right time for, Corey Dillon, they got for a song, basically. They got Moss for a song. Well, they had to get up Richard Seymour for him. But still, I mean, at the end of the day,
I thought it was just a 6th-round pick for.
No, Seymour was went as a free agent, I think.
They just cut him. Yeah, it was like a 6th-round pick for Randy Moss, the Hall of Fame.
Seymour is actually one of those guys that they moved on from sooner than later. So Moss was just. You're right. It was a mid-round draft pick.
Yeah, like a 4th or 5th. I can't remember. It's just like it's
Corey Dillon, very similar. I think. I think it was a 3rd or 4th round draft pick for Corey Dillon, who gave them three really good years.
Yeah.
And never a problem.
The one thing I will say, like we were talking about the Vrabel stuff, is like they still have everybody pretty much on staff, right? Like McDaniel's still there, and I don't think he's ever going to leave now because like everybody's seen him as a head coach. He's just not that guy. He's never going to be a good head coach. he's like a Norv Turner, right? Like Norv Turner, great offensive coordinator, but was never a great head coach. And I think McDaniel's that person.
He is definitely that person. I don't think he'll get another chance. So I don't think he's really going to leave for a head coaching job because I don't think anybody's going to hire him again. But he's very good at what he does. The Super Bowl aside, I was very disappointed in his effort. But sometimes you just run into a steamroller, and that's what the Seahawks were. Yeah, the staff's pretty much intact. Defensive coordinator has changed. Terrell Williams has taken a different position. He's still within the organization, though.
But he wasn't there most of the year anyway.
No, he was.
Right? If he had cancer or something like that.
Yeah. He missed most of the year. He came back the end of the season into the playoffs, but really didn't assume the play call or anything. That still stayed in. I can't think of the defensive coordinator's name all of a sudden off the top of my head. But he will be the D coordinator this year, but Williams is still in the organization and will be contributing elsewhere. So,
what's the rumors there on Gonzalez? There's rumors that he's already kind of asking to be paid, and they're not really wanting to yet.
I mean, look at this guy is really good, and either got
one of the best corners in the league. He's top top 5 corner.
Historically, they have not paid anybody except the head coach and the quarterback. The Patriots, they haven't really gone overboard in salaries, and if they want to keep Christian Gonzalez, who I think is the best cornerback in the league, without him in that Super Bowl we just talked about, they might have lost that game by 40 because he saved a couple of touchdowns all by himself, and they're going to have to pay him. I mean, quarterbacks are getting paid a lot of money today, so he's right to step up. And if they give it to him, they give it to him, and if they don't, he's welcome to go get it where he can. So,
he's probably going to ask to be the highest paid corner in the league.
I would think absolutely would, right? I mean, it seems like every time we have one of these guys sign, it's a new record for non-quarterback. Highest paid quarterback, highest paid, defensive lineman. Everything's a new record. I would expect Gonzalez to be the next guy to get a huge contract, if not with the Patriots, then somewhere else.
Yeah. Do you think the Pats are now? I think the Patriots should pay him now before they have to pay Drake May.
It'd probably be best. I think locking up now would make sense. Again,
maybe they got to wait till this AJ Brown deal gets done and kind of figure out the numbers.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big deal. We got to see what he's going to, warrant. He's going to probably need an extension when he gets here of some kind. They are still under the cap, a decent amount, I'm pretty sure. So I just go out and get it done. I mean, this organization isn't the same organization as when they started, winning. And when Bob Kraft took them over, and they needed to do things like this to compete. They don't need to do that anymore. They're making money hand over fist.
Well, everybody in the NFL is at this point.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't that way, in the 70s and 80s. It was, God, it was bad then. I go back to those times. I just shake my head.
That's. I was going to ask another question. I forget what it was. It was going to be on the May stuff. Oh, I was going to ask you. You mentioned the salary cap in the free agents they add. Were you surprised that they didn't make bigger splashes because they had such a lot of money in the cap? Or I
mean, they did this a couple of years ago, right? They made a big splash in Belichick's last hurrah, and it didn't go over well. And I think there's lingering side effects from that. I mean, Hunter Henry's really the only guy, and the linebacker came in from Baltimore. It's in Atlanta now. See what happens when you keep me up late at night. I can't remember everybody's name. Anyway, they only made a couple good signings there, and they made some bad ones. So I think they're being smarter with their money. I like what they did with their money. I think they were saving it for the wide receiver. They know they got to pay AJ Brown when he comes here, and they're going to have to pay Drake May. So I'm not surprised. And Gonzalez, right? So again, that money's really already spoken for that you would have liked to have spent in free agency. Most likely he's already spoken for. So I think they made some decent moves, though, without, again, looking overwhelming. It's nothing anybody's going to be excited about. Fans want really big splashes, right?
Yeah.
They want wide receivers. They want cornerbacks. They want quarterbacks. They want, But the reality is, you win the games in the trenches, right? And I like what they did in the draft by going lineman and edge rusher. I mean, they could have done that in either order. I'd have been fine. I like the guys that they got. They'll contribute. They may not start right away, but they'll certainly contribute. And that's where you build your team, is in the trenches. You got to protect the quarterback. If you're going to pay this guy who's going to end up being one of the highest paid players in the game soon, Drake May, you better protect him.
Yeah, take a note, Cincinnati. You know?
Right. I mean, wide receivers are great. They're awesome. But if your quarterback's getting the snot knocked out of him every other play, it's not good.
What's your again? I know it's only May 2nd. We got a long way to go. But what's the expectations of this year? Earlier, you kind of said 10-9 wins. They might be better, but less record. But
yeah, I would expect them to take a little step back record wise again, but be an improved, I think, team.
Yeah, you're playing a tougher competition. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to have a last place schedule like they had last year.
No, but I could still see this team winning 10 or 11 games and making the playoffs. I think that'll be a tough division fight with the Bills. I think the window's not closed for the Bills yet. A lot of people think it is. I don't think it is. As long as Josh Allen's there, and you've got one of the best quarterbacks in the league and one of the best running backs in the league, you're probably still going to be pretty good. Whether they're good enough to get over the top, I don't know. They were pretty close this year, one play away from going to the AFC Championship game again. So I see a dogfight at the top of that AFC East and make the playoffs, and then anything can happen. We saw that this year. So
yeah. Keith, let me ask you before we get into the Mount Rushmore. I like to ask these last two questions. Yeah. What is the greatest moment in your lifetime as a Patriots fan? You've seen a lot, and that's a lot of questions. That's a kind of a big one, but the greatest moment.
No, beating the Rams in 2001, 2002. What was that? 2002. I guess Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I think it was 2002 Super Bowls, 2001 season.
Yeah.
That's still the number one. I mean, 14.5-point dogs. Nobody thought we could win. Nobody thought we'd ever get there. So we talked about, we started the season 1-3. They're 5-5, really going nowhere. And they just got hot and ran it all the way through to a victory. That's still the best one. Coming back from Atlanta is a huge one. That was I was on a cruise ship for that Super Bowl. That was wild. So there's been a lot of great moments, even before then. I mean, they had some good teams. I mean, not consistently good for 20 years like we've seen in the Brady era, but they had some good teams in '76. They had a tough loss in Oakland. I remember that like it was yesterday. Horrible roughing the passer call in that game. So you remember these things even.
That's usually my follow-up is I always say, like, it's not the winning that makes the sports fan like the most memorable stuff. It's the losing, like the heartbreak losses that make the sports fan like when they rip your.
There's some big ones there too, obviously.
Yeah. What's the biggest one to you?
I'll be honest with you. The second loss to the Giants to me was worse than the first. Because Welker catches the ball, the game's over. I mean, the Giants beat them up. The Giants were a better team that day. I mean, they might have played, if they played 10 times, the Patriots might have won 9 times. But they weren't better that day. And don't anybody tell you they were, because, again, they got to the quarterback rushing 4 guys all day long and played great defense, and the Patriots didn't deserve to win that game. Helmet catch, whatever, I don't care. They didn't deserve to win that game. The second game against the Giants was really rough because the game's over. If Welker catches the ball, it's over. As Giselle famously said, Tommy can't throw the ball and catch it too. So that one hurt. And I go back to, I think it was 76 when they lost. I think it was 76 team that lost to the Raiders on a horrible roughing the passer call in the fourth quarter against Kenny Stabler. That was a really, really good football team. They might have won a Super Bowl if things broke a little differently, but they didn't. That was a tough loss too. I was a kid then, younger than you.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was 70-something. I wasn't even screaming around in my daddy's nutsack.
I was 16 then, so I wasn't a baby, but that was a hard one. But you're right. The losses stick with you. I mean, just like the players and the coaches, they
Right.
all say the losses stick with you longer than the wins, and they're absolutely
I
right.
really do. I maybe it's because I'm a Cubs fan, so like I just remember all the heartbreak in my time. But
Yeah.
I also remember as a Packers fan, like there's just moments of like, man, like I remember like how devastated I was in this, in that moment more than I do some of the victories.
Yeah, I get it. And again, where I live makes it even more difficult with those Giants losses, because it doesn't matter if we win 100 Super Bowls. I got to listen about those too.
Yeah.
I want the Giants so bad in a Super Bowl, and they can't get out of their own way. I really want them in a Super Bowl so we can kind of at least get one on them.
I don't think they're getting any close anytime soon.
Nah, they got a little work to do. I like what they're doing there in New York, actually, but
they finally got it right. I feel like with the head coach, and now they're changing the culture there.
Well, you see what happened with the Patriots, and changing the culture can make a big change early on. So, I mean, maybe the Giants make a little leap this year, but I think they still got a little ways to go.
Yeah. Keith, let's my only true segment that I have on the show, and it is the Mount Rushmore segment. I asked you I always like to clarify. It's just, and for you, I know it's a long time, but pretty much since the beginning of football. But I always clarify that it's the ones that I have seen personally. So
okay,
that's my one or coached personally. Like,
where's my cutoff? Where's my cutoff?
You get 4, just your top 4. That's what Mount Rushmore.
No, you said that. Oh, for you have to assume.
Yeah, for me. So for you,
I thought you meant players on my team.
No. Okay. That's mine. So that's why I would say whatever you see. Now you've lived a longer life than I have, so you've seen it all. But I can only really, since 1990, I would say that I can go off of.
Yeah, it's the first 3 are pretty easy. Quite frankly, it's Bob Kraft, Bill Belichick. Can I use the owner? If I can, I'll.
I mean, I don't usually use the owner, but if you feel like Bob Kraft,
it's that important.
Okay.
Bob Kraft, Bill Belichick.
Why Bob Kraft though? Just because he's the owner, or like what did?
Because Bob Kraft, and when he came in here, first of all, he saved this franchise from moving from not only Foxborough, Massachusetts, but out of New England altogether. This team was on their way to St. Louis when he came in.
I never knew that.
And just a story about the way he acquired the team. He was a season ticket holder. He wasn't a gazillionaire. He was a season ticket holder. He bought up all the parking lots around. He owned the parking lots around the stadium. He leveraged that into buying the stadium, and he leveraged that into buying the whole team over like a 10-year period. And he really turned the fortunes of the Patriots around fairly quickly. He brought Bill Parcells in here, and they he's not one of my favorite guys. He's not making my Mount Rushmore, by the way, but he's a good coach. And he turned their fortunes around, got them to a Super Bowl, and then they
had Pete Carroll.
Played his whole exit. Pete. Bob Kraft also says that the thing he regrets most in his time owning the Patriots was firing Pete Carroll.
Wow.
He respected Pete Carroll that much, but the team wasn't responding to him. And he had something to say after. I don't know if that's a shot, really. Maybe it's a shot at Belichick. But Bob Kraft is very important to the success of this team, over the last 30 years for sure. Bill Belichick, 6 Super Bowls. What are you gonna? He's got to be
on that. All time. It's
without a doubt.
The travesty that he didn't get is not a first ballot Hall of Famer.
It's it's payback for just who he is.
Who cares?
I don't care. I mean, a lot of the stuff that went down to me is like stuff. Everybody's doing all this stuff.
Right.
And there's selective enforcement on all this stuff, whether it's the Patriots and the things they did with Spygate and Deflategate, or it's the Astros with the sign stealing, whatever. These things, all these teams are doing all this stuff. And if you want to catch somebody, you'll catch them.
Right.
You just don't want to do it. Yeah. So I think those things are all overblown. And Belichick's got to be there. It's a travesty, as you said. He's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. I wish he'd gone out a little differently than he did. But often things don't end well, right? And the whole Brady Belichick thing, neither one of them would have been as good as they are without the other.
That was good. So who gets the credit, right? Because I think that's the biggest. You get to a point where in this whole thing, it's almost like the Bulls in the 90s, right? Jerry Krause wanted all the credit, and all the credit was given to Michael Jordan, right? So but Jerry's like, I put the team together. I did this,
Got to get some credit.
I mean, but who gets the credit? Is it Bob Kraft? Or is it Tom Brady? Is it Bill Belichick?
Without those three guys, they don't win 6 Super Bowls. Without
egos get involved, right? So one of them's like, it's the biggest dick competition. Who's got the biggest dick? And who? So
I think it's bigger for fans than it is for them, quite frankly, right? I mean, the fans all want to say, look, Belichick could never have won anything without Brady. I don't believe that for a
But that's where it's also started the discontention between the three.
No, I get it. It's part of it, and him screaming in his ear, every day for 20 years didn't help either.
Right. So who do you give the slight? You're equal, it sounds like.
I feel like, they wouldn't have won with 6 Super Bowls without that triumvirate. They would not have won 6 Super Bowls. They would have won if it was just Brady, maybe they win a couple. If it was just Belichick, maybe they win a couple. If it was just Kraft without either one of them, maybe his wins none, actually. But, here's the thing about Brady. And Brady's my number 3, by the way, since we're talking about it. Obviously, I can't have a Mount Rushmore of the Patriots without Brady. But here's the thing that, and I can't believe I have such a hard time convincing people of this. Tom Brady may never have become Tom Brady without Bill Belichick and the coaches that Bill Belichick had working with Tom Brady.
Yeah, agreed.
There is no Tom Brady maybe without that.
Yeah.
So later on, I think early on, I would credit Belichick with the Super Bowls more than Brady. And later on, maybe it's the other way around because Brady became just went into the stratosphere. So again, I think if they didn't have each other, maybe there'd be a couple Super Bowls in there, but not 6. So.
Who's number 4 then? I guess would be the 4th guy.
I had trouble. I had a lot of trouble here. I almost took a kicker, believe it or not, but I did not. Yeah,
we'll do honorable mentions after I name my 4. And then
my 4th is John Hannah.
Okay.
He's the best guard ever to play the game out of Alabama. First round draft pick in 1973, and Patriots really started to get good or better and then good after John Hannah got drafted. He's probably the best guard in the history of the NFL in my mind. So John Hannah would be number 4. And there's a few others that, I had to.
So my number 4, obviously, like you said, I think you have to label Belichick and Brady like that's the Patriots across Stone. You can't change those 2, right?
Yep.
Like that's it. The other 2, I have to go Gronk as one. I think as a Hall of Fame. And then when I think of the Patriots, the number 4 for me is Teddy Bruschi.
Another good choice.
Maybe not the greatest player, but I just think when I think Patriots, I think Teddy Bruschi, the middle linebacker. He was the leader of a lot of those Super Bowl teams, and everything else. So I think Teddy Bruschi is got to go in there. Some honorable mentions. I thought about Randy Moss, but he just wasn't quite long term, right? Like
never won a Super Bowl either.
Yeah, it was a comment, just very fast and things like that. Not quite, the longevity that you wanted to see.
And no Super Bowl victories either.
Right. Yeah. You mentioned Adam Vinatieri. I think, had he not probably won with the Colts, would probably finish, have a good, kind of a second half act with the Colts. You could almost put him in there as well.
Yeah, I almost put him there. Some of the guys I had close to that was Vince Wilfork is another guy. You mentioned Teddy Bruschi.
Yeah.
Andre Tippett, great linebacker. People forget about because the teams weren't, it wasn't the dominant teams that we saw. You put Andre Tippett on these Patriot teams, they might have won a couple more Super Bowls. He was that good. I mean, he was Lawrence Taylor light. He wasn't quite Lawrence Taylor, but he was damn close when he was healthy. Willie McGinnis is another great player that you could talk about.
Ted Ginn Jr. had a couple good years there in New England.
Go back away, Steve Grogan. Again, no Super Bowls, not the same kind of bang as Brady, but just tough as nails quarterback. Love Steve Grogan. You probably don't remember Steve Grogan, but those 70s teams that were so good, he led those teams, and he was really
Scott
good.
says, how about Mike Haynes?
Another good one. Mike Haynes is another really good one. They had a lot of good cornerbacks, and he was a punt returner too. Mike Haynes, really good. You know, Ty Law they had back there.
Yeah, Ty Law.
Gosh, Raymond Claiborne. They had tons of great defensive backs through the years. It's hard to come up with four, right? As a Packer fan, you got to say the same thing. And you're only picking guys you know, so you're leaving a lot of guys out.
Yeah, I know those guys, but I'd like to say because I never seen them play, so it's hard for me to be like, this guy was so great. Well, I never got my 4 eyes have never got to lay eyes on him, but like I know the history and the stats, right? But I'm just like, I can't. They're not on my Mount Rushmore because it's my I have got to be able to watch them play.
That's fair. That's certainly fair. It was very hard to get the first three were simple, easy for me. And I know you probably don't have a lot of guys tell you the owner of their team, but that's how important Bob Kraft is to this organization. Because again, they might have been the St. Louis whatevers if it wasn't for Bob Kraft. So that's why
I didn't know that they were supposed to. That's the first time I ever heard that they were supposed to move to
in the 70s. The 80s. They went from one owner to another that had no money, and they couldn't fix the stadium. There's one road in, one road out. At that time, they couldn't pay guys. That stadium was just a mess. It was a joke. Billy Sullivan, they lost all their money on a Jackson 5 tour. They were reuniting to do this world tour. They invested all this money and they lost it all there. They had to sell to the guy who owned Gillette razors. Can't think of his name now. We used to see him. He'd stand right behind us. The guy didn't even have a seat, for crying out loud. He'd stand behind us at the stadium. Can't remember his name, but Larry Orthwein bought the team and was going to move it to St. Louis. And Bob Kraft stepped in and said, we can't have that. So
I'll take it. Now he's a multi-billion, because everything that's
the return
happened
on his investment has been huge.
Right. Keith, I got to ask you just to kind of back away from the Patriots real quick.
Sure.
How are you a Hurricanes fan then? Because I know you throw up the U.
I do have the U. It's right here, actually, right now. My stepson did his undergraduate at Miami and became I was a kind of a Syracuse fan. In college sports, I kind of would go to good stories, right? I never really had a team. I would gravitate to good stories. But when he was down there, his mom really started watching the games because it was a way to stay connected to him. And then we started, watching the games, and I became a big U fan. So, and they were good. They had a great recent history. People like to think that my University of Miami is a blue blood, like Alabama or Oklahoma or Notre Dame. Well, they're not. They were irrelevant before 1980.
Until Jimmy Johnson got there, really.
Well, Howard Schnellenberger actually won a national championship. They beat Nebraska in 1983, I think. Yeah. Then he left stupidly. He went to the USFL, and Jimmy Johnson came in, and things really took off from there. But then they were after Johnson and Erickson got done, they were kind of irrelevant again for 20 years. From
Butch Davis was there in the.
They weren't very good.
They won national titles with Butch Davis. They had Glenn Dorsey.
Not as a head coach. They won with Larry Coker in the early 2000s.
I thought that was Butch Davis's.
Oh, that was Larry Coker. Butch Davis came in after Larry Coker, and they never won a national championship. They won. The last time they won was, I want to say, 2002. They lost one to Ohio State. They won.
That was Butch Davis, right?
I think there's still Larry Coker. Pretty sure.
Look this up, Keith.
Check it out. Because I think I'm right. Sometimes I'm wrong, but because my memory is not as good as it used to be, but I'm pretty sure. And then they were irrelevant after that for about 20 years until now. So
yeah. Miami head coach.
See if I'm
so he was from 1995 to 2000. He was a crucial figure in the rebuilding.
he was there before Larry Coker, right?
Yeah, he won national. So the Hurricanes were loaded with Davis. Davis didn't win a national title at Miami, but he built the roster. So
51-20 from 95 to 2000. Yep.
yeah.
Larry Coker won one and lost one.
Yeah, peak 2000. They beat. Yeah, it was.
And then the list gets pretty bad because then it's Randy Shannon, Jeff Stoltland, Al Golden, Larry Scott, Mark Rick, who had a decent run, but he couldn't get over the top. Sorry. Something went down my throat. Anyway, so that's it. We started watching games, and then when we'd go to see him here in Syracuse and BC. I was a BC fan for a while years ago because my my buddy's son went to college here. Played with Matty Ryan actually on the offensive line. He got drafted by the Bears, third round, I think. Same year Matt Ryan got drafted by the Falcons. Matt Ryan made a little more money and had a little more success though than my good buddy Josh. We used to go to all the home games out there, so I was kind of a Eagles fan then. So I kind of moved around. Now I've landed on because we landed on the Hurricanes and we're going to stay there.
There you go.
Yeah.
Keith, we're wrapping up here at the end of the hour, and again, I appreciate you joining me this evening. It's been a pleasure. It's been a lot of fun. Like I said, I truly, you are one of the best in the game. I just had this. I've been having these Sunday shows, and just it makes me think of we all know each other through Dan Harrison. Like I was thinking about that today, like how great of a person he was. So shout out
Dan all the time. There's not a day that I don't start up all this stuff and think of Dan. I'll tell you right now.
He was one of the best, and kind of put us all on to each other and together and stuff, and it was one of the best. So
yeah, absolutely. Thanks for giving him a shout out tonight for sure.
For sure. Keith, let the people know where they can find you and what you got going on the rest of the week.
You can catch me on TGI Sports Talk. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. We broadcast through the McGrath, the podcast network. Another great guy that I worked with from the beginning of doing this was Mac McGrath, and he passed away about a year ago. So his network is carrying on. But you can catch me on Sundays with the Stream of Consciousness, as you mentioned. Wednesdays, we do the College Sports Huddle. Mondays and Fridays, I've got the Jack and Keith's weekend playbook that I do with Jack Hirsch, who is Mac's old partner. The MLB update on Fridays at 3:00. And we do a couple roundtables on the McGrath network as well on Wednesday nights and Sunday mornings. And whoever else asks me on, like yourself, I show up anytime I can because it's always fun for me to get with you guys and have a few laughs, and it's always fun.
It's always a pleasure, Keith. Let me ask you, you mentioned the college. I hate this March Madness expansion to 76. What are we doing here? I mean, I know what they're doing, but why? I guess.
Well, money. I mean,
I guess I know what we're doing and why. I just hate it. I guess
because now we got another 8 games that we can sell to TV, right? Because it's going to be. Here's what I would be okay with. The only way I'm okay with this, because I don't need the 10th and 11th best team in the SEC to get in this tournament. Or the Big Ten or whoever. I don't need it.
But that's what it's going to be, though.
It is. It's not going to be the best of the mid-majors that didn't make it, lost their conference tournament or whatever. It's going to be those teams. Auburn would have been in this year, right? And who cares? I don't care how good Auburn did in the NIT. People go, look at how they did in the NIT. I don't care.
Right.
They didn't deserve to be in. The only way I'd be okay with this, Nick, is if you said, all right, we got to play, because now they got to play what? 12 games, I think. Or no, wait, am I doing that right? To get to 64, they've got to lose 12 teams. There'll be 6 games, I guess, playing game.
Yeah, three on. It's going to be 3 on Tuesday or 3 on Wednesday instead.
Yeah, don't make those part of the tournament. I hate when we hear that guys won these first 4 games. Well, that's their first NCAA tournament win. Well, it's not really, because you're not really in the field yet, you know?
Right.
So if they just took all this, and they could take as many teams as they wanted, they could take 120. I wouldn't care. And then you say, I'm going to play all these guys to fill my slots of 64, and that's the tournament. That's the tournament field. When you win in that group, now you've won an NCAA tournament game.
Yeah.
But this is it's all about money, and we continue to water down the field. And these teams, I mean, every once in a while you get a team that comes out of the first four. North Carolina did it a couple of years ago. UCLA might have done it 1 year too, but that's rare.
Right.
Very rare. Those teams usually are one and done once they get to the 64. So, and again, if you were going to do it to let more mid-majors in and give them a little more exposure, but that's not what's going to happen, you know. Again,
the mid-majors though is dead though. You know what I mean? It's mid-majors and everything else those are
true Cinderellas. The true Cinderellas are dead between the NIL and the portals. And, you know, and now this, they just the deck is stacked against them worse than ever.
Right.
You know, guys are trying to tell me this year that I don't know who we were talking about. Tennessee, somebody being a Cinderella, right? Getting to the Elite Eight, and I'm like, that's not a Cinderella. I mean,
maybe it was Iowa, baby, because Iowa made it to the Elite Eight, and we never get there. That was Cinderella for me, Keith.
I think that was one of the ones that they were talking about, and I can almost buy into that, but it's hard for me to say any team from one of the power conferences is a real true Cinderella, right?
Yeah,
Cinderellas to me were Butler, you know, and George Mason getting to the Final Four,
VCU and stuff. Yeah,
but that's not going to happen. Again,
you know, and they're also it's true. High school kids aren't being recruited. You know what I mean? Like they're being recruited by those mid majors, and then getting to the mid major, and then just transferring once they help that mid major make it on the map or to the tournament. And then it's like, oh, I'm going to transfer to one of the bigger schools.
The mid majors become farm clubs for the major conferences, right?
Yeah, because it's like the Royals with the Yankees and stuff, you know, they're A's with the Yankees. You know, it's just a farm system for them.
These teams are going to there for their talent, and they're also going to Europe because those guys can have played 10 years in a European league, and they can come here and play.
Right.
It's crazy. I mean, I do like the fact that it looks like they're going to pass the new regulation on
the transfer. It was
no. The time you can spend in.
5 years. It's 5 years. Right.
5 years total.
I think it's and then but it's also you're only allowed to transfer one time.
You can. Well, I don't know if that part's getting through. That's part of it, but I know the part that is getting through is the 5 years, and it's not it's based on your age, right? So it's from when your high school class would graduate or you turn 19, whichever comes first, you got 5 years. Right. And that's it. Because we got lawsuits up the
Trinidad
Chambliss. He's a 6 year.
He's about as old as you are, Keith, still playing college football.
There will be guys as old as me playing college football before long, if they don't change this rule for sure.
Keith, I appreciate you joining us. Again, please check out Keith's stuff. Actually, and there's a link to his YouTube in the description of this episode. Like, subscribe, shares. Keith does a great job. You're the best, Keith. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for staying up late and hanging out with me this evening. I will be back Wednesday evening for another great episode of Head Kicks and Haymakers. Me and Bobby Blunt's got so much to get into. We'll talk about Carlos Prates' big win yesterday. We'll also talk about Inoue's big boxing win. Plus, we'll preview the Chimaev versus Sean Strickland UFC, I think 328 card as well on Wednesday night. So we'll have a jam-packed show Wednesday night. And then Thursday will be Fall Start Thursday with the boys where we talk all things NFL and whatever else happens. So be a friend, tell a friend, folks. Like, subscribe, share. We hope you have the best week of your life. For my guy, Keith Engle, I'm Bodkins. This is a great one. Have a good week.
Thanks so much for joining us, and until next time, let's talk sport, friends. Thanks for watching.
You got the best opening.